We are members of parliament. We have come here deliberately, constitutionally, very peacefully, to come and engage with IEBC. As we came, police have lobbed tear gas on us severally, without provocation at all. And then we come to this gate. We have found that they have locked the gates with chains.
All right, that is TJ Kajong, the Member of Parliament for Ruaraka, your fellow Nairobi City County MP. And of course, they are holding those demonstrations. I don't know whether it's because they had not notified the police that they were tear gassed. Why were you not there, Honorable Elachi?
Because I believe in a different way of managing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, the problem with politicians, they fear their leaders. We don't. We come here by the grace of God. You stand for the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so for this decision, it is important also to use diplomacy. And diplomacy works very well.
Mm-hmm.
And you ensure you achieve the same goal. But I believe also, and I respect my senior, TJ, because he believes to bring it out, which is okay, and to inform Kenyans. But I think mine was a diplomacy way because we have processed. This is a very clear case, and I think she needs to go to court.
So tell me about this, just before you get to that, because
yes.
You see the Supreme Court saying that there needs to be some reforms to also provide for specific roles of which organ or person within the commission,
yes.
The commissioners themselves, the chairperson, the secretariat, the CEO, and the other staff. So in 2017, there was a fallout within the commission.
Yes.
The culprit stroke victim was Ezra Chiloba, then Chief Executive Officer.
Yes.
In this election, there appears to be another fallout, and the culprit stroke victim appears to be Ruth Kulundu.
Yes.
And of course, that is sort of an internal mechanism to deal with one of their staff.
Exactly.
Why is politics getting into this, and what do you think has led the commission to this, that at every election, there has to be someone
to take their blame
being focused on?
You see, the challenge, and I think the Supreme Court has said it very well, that there must be separation of administrative guidelines in terms of the staff and the commission. Now, the challenge, the staffs who are at the higher level, let's say the CEO, the deputy CEO, and directors, you see, for you, even to go through a disciplinary action, the commission has to sit and discuss you. And that is when they decide whether you're being interdicted or not. Because when you look at their HR manual, it is very clear. There are steps and mechanisms you must go through before you arrive to the decision that they've already arrived to. Number two, your CEO cannot indeed give you that letter as the deputy CEO. So there's something there that needs to be looked at. And I think, and I keep on, I think every time I go on media, I plead with chairman that, look, I know we have intra-politics that have now interfered with the institution. And so the best way when you realize that, I'm not saying if you are good or bad, or if you are a good chair, if you are just a leader who looks at things from how they are happening, you will come in and realize most of these things we have to relook at our institution. We've just come from an election. And so before even we start interdicting, and the challenge of IEBC is that most of them have been demoted, And even demote, when you demote, you ensure you downgrade their salaries. It never happens in the ILO rules. It doesn't happen in the Employment Act. And so it is just very interesting how the institution is being run. And that is why it has divided itself into those intra-politics. Everyone is running to their tribe. When I hear the name of Mheshimiwa, I fear. If I'm a Luya, will he stand for me? Will he protect me? We cannot make a country start going that way, that we are going back to our small cocoons to find where we can find safeness. It is not right for the country, not when we have a progressive constitution. So for me, I come out to stand with Kulundu, not because of anything else. As a woman, and a woman who went through hell and came out, I know. And in this country, women are subjected always, when they are being thrown out of an institution, they are thrown out in a very merciless way. And for us women, we must stop it.
You think she's being targeted because of her gender? No.
I'm just saying the way we will now deal with her is very ruthlessly than the way you'll deal with a male. Because both of them, if I'm asked, in all due respect, and I know men will laugh at it, but I am saying it because I know. We saw it with Waiguru, we saw it with Elachi, we saw it with Baraza. So it is not something I'm saying it has not happened in this country. We look at things very differently. Yet, when another man slaps another one in an office, it goes to court, it plays around, it comes. When another man beats somebody in the parliament, you go to court, it plays around, it comes, it becomes a colonialism and everything. When you, and that's how it has played along. Yeah.
I hear you. You know, I'm sorry because you just said that they'll deal with her.
So it's not about gender. When I talk about it, I'm not talking about the genders. I'm talking about how we deal with ourselves in this country.
Honorable Elachi was just explaining ruthlessly, and she's Ruth Kulundu.
Yes.
But Honorable Mutunga, so looking at this, like I said, the situation of 2017 and now, does it have to get to this? Because there can be disagreements in organizations, whether it's in political parties, in government or whatever. But does it have to get to the point that that should amount to disciplinary action? Because at a time that she's being accused of sort of usurping the powers of the CEO, taking minutes of a meeting of commissioners, the IEBC 4, what is someone supposed to do if your boss, the commission, calls you to a meeting?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all start with the law. I said earlier that there is an IEBC Act which specifies the roles and responsibility of everyone. And these laws are translated into regulations where there's a guiding principle on how to do the business. Institutions also interpret the regulations into specific guidelines on who does what, whose responsibility is it to do what. You will never find a deputy CEO taking minutes of the board. It is the responsibility of the CEO, who is the ex-official member of the board, to take the minutes. So, but we should actually not be looking at IEBC and the commissioners as it were. Let's look at the hand-to-hand, the power behind all this. We should be asking ourselves very solid questions. Why was it happening? These 4 commissioners, when were they appointed? And in the first of all, I want to refute the fact that it was Parliament, which is supposed to appoint IEBC. No, Parliament just ratifies. Parliament just looks at the names and looks at the backgrounds and looks at the qualifications and says, these people qualify. There is a clear procedure of appointing IEBC, or not only IEBC, or, let's say, constitutional body commissioners.
But Honorable Mutunga, the selection panel for identifying who should be the nominees is created in Parliament. In fact, yes. The Parliamentary Service Commission.
In fact, the chair is a Parliamentary Service Commission.
Yes, it is created. But let's look at the last Parliament, specifically towards the end of the term. That's when the Parliament manifested itself into what it was. We passed several laws, like the Political Parties Act, which we must revisit.
Can we restrict ourselves to the conversation?
Yes, I just want to tell you that there was a lot of influence of the last Parliament. And that is what you should guard against as Kenyans and as parliamentarians. Secondly, we should also be able to trust this constitution that we have and the laws that we have to safeguard our security, or rather our status within in institutions. We don't need to go and demonstrate as members of Parliament to show discontent. in what is happening. We should allow, as I would like to, agree with Honorable Lachi on the fact that diplomacy works more effectively than basically protest. Having members of parliament and gathering people to go and protest outside the IEBC offices may not generate solutions faster than probably if we pursued the other way.
So let me ask you, you sat in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee?
No, I don't sit in that. I sit in committees.
The last time you didn't?
No.
Okay, you're not there. Yes. But you had an opportunity to have a word on the approval or...
Yeah, we did look at the names and we approved them.
So if there was interference then, how safe is the country this time round where there is also a majority side?
The country is safe because people play by the rules, people play by the law, if they are law-abiding. And I believe they mentally are. The idea is, why did we have a few commissioners appointed much later in the day behaving in a specific way as to disapprove the rest? Why did that happen? I think that's a big question we should be answering.
It's very interesting because I thought those questions should have been asked in Parliament, but...
why did Parliament delay? They should be telling the country, why do you delay with the names of commissioners?
Senator Oroba, so now, like she said, Chebukati and Professor Gulie and one Commissioner Molu have to leave office by January 23. There's already a petition, the House, to remove the other 4 commissioners, Justice Nyangaya, Juliana Cherera, Wanderi, and Irene Masit. And of course, there's the very important assignment of reviewing the boundaries that must be done by 2024. How does IEBC resolve all this? They have a fight with one of their CEOs, deputy CEOs. They also are in transition, and there's a political class that wants half of those commissioners out, actually 4 out of 7. How does the commission survive this?
The most important question actually is, with everything that you have stipulated, then we have an active opposition on the streets calling that someone must be reinstated and this one must be done this, as if they don't understand that we have, first of all, as if they don't understand that they themselves are legislators. So if they have an issue of how IEBC is constituted as a legislator, you have the floor of the House. We are about to open Parliament, so you have all the opportunities to go and forward motions, to go and draft bills and amendments. But then the same people, and this is my issue is, it's not the electorate, the mwananchi, the raia who does not understand that this is how IEBC is structured, these are the processes of removing a commissioner. There's a question that was posed by the leaders of the IEBC demonstration, and it was like, how can 3 people out of 7 commissioners be able to just decide that now the deputy must go? You understand? Those are questions that they should take to the floor of the House and say that actually, having read the constitution and the legislation that actually guides IEBC, we think that it is unfair that 3 people can actually decide that they are going to fire so and so. They have the floor of the House, and for me the issue is, yes, we understand that they are an active opposition, but you can't be doing the same thing for so long, going to the streets, wanting to just be engaged on tear gas, and yet as legislators, your role actually is to ensure that we have working laws. So if you have sat down and you have analyzed that IEBC as an institution is not working and has some loopholes, you as a legislator, instead of going to the streets like raia mwenye hana mahali ya kuenda change whatever needs to be changed, you should be seriously, first of all, trying to organize yourselves in terms of leadership. When you look at what is happening with Azimio in terms of leadership of the houses and, the fights they have for PSE, youth against who, what, it's a confused lot, and that's the reason why they're not able to actually participate in the way that they should participate to change this country. So first I would say, number one, going to demonstrate and standing at the building of IEBC and demanding that you want audience is the reason we almost had violence in Bomas, because we had the same caliber of people demanding that they want to see IEBC. Most of them, they wanted to see Chebukati. At that time in Bomas, most of them were not even chief agents. Yet they were standing at the door of Chebukati's office demanding, we want to see him, we want to talk to him. They must understand, and when I say they, now I'm talking to ODM particularly, they have to understand, put your house in order. You are now opposition. Put your leadership in order. Once your leadership is in order, you'll even be able to influence how those committees are going to be constituted. You'll be able to, you know, showcase your muscle with these numbers that you keep saying you have. And then once you even have that kind of influence at the House, then bring your petitions, bring your motions, bring your amendments to the House and say, we are tired of IEBC having 3 people to fire the chair or whatever. We are now going to, you know, bring this amendment that says that this is how we want it. But going to the streets really as legislators as early as 3 weeks into being sworn in, it just gives you an indication that there is not going to be any constructive participation of ODM at the houses, and it gives you an indication.
Is that a fair statement?
It gives you it is a very fair statement, because these are legislators. These are legislators who are elected. Right, they were elected to go and legislate and make the,
and they're exercising their right, aren't they?
Let me ask you, why is a legislator standing in front of any building of IEBC demanding to see Chebukati? You have the floor of the House. Take your motion, take your petitions.
All right, I hear you, Senator. Honorable Hassan, so we're back to where this conversation started at the Supreme Court, that you have 4 commissioners against the decision that has been made by the chairman, that is for the presidential election petition. Now, there's this perception that the decision to process one of the deputy CEOs for disciplinary action is a minority decision of the 3 commissioners versus the 4. How do you resolve this question?
Well, I was quite surprised that my sister, the senator, wants to run the affairs of the oldest and the major political party in this country, rather than dealing with the complexities of our own political existence. I would say that actually, I just wanted to quickly touch on the freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, freedoms in our Bill of Rights, freedoms that we have fought for many years, like Article 37, which is the freedom of assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petition. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with a member of parliament or a citizen of this country to go and express their grievances or the problems they have in public. There's absolutely nothing. I don't know why our 2 colleagues would want us to go to an authoritarian state where the right to association, assembly, protest are criticized and attacked as if they were criminal activities. So I think my colleagues who went out yesterday have every right under our Constitution to do what they did and to push for the issue that they are pushing for. And I would like to say that it is a bit disturbing that this particular case of this IEBC official has happened at this particular time, when we have just come through a charged, disputed election. And I fear for anyone in IEBC now, because I'm wondering whether she is the fall woman, whether she is been targeted as an example, or whether she's been victimized. And I think IEBC must be very, very careful so that this should not be seen as just part of a divisive institutional politics of settling scores and punishing one individual, perhaps, who may not be considered to have done the right thing at a particular moment. And I think it is important that the rights of this particular individual are protected, whatever the circumstances. Now, coming to your question, your question wasn't very clear.
No, I'm asking the question about, because one of the pillars of the Supreme Court petition was 4 versus 3 commissioners. Again, in the disciplinary action being taken against one of the deputy CEOs appears almost, I'm not certain about this, but it's being made to appear like it's 4 versus 3.
Yes, it doesn't look good.
So how do you resolve that at a time that there's a transition expected? So there has to be at least 3 new commissioners after January 2023.
I think what happened in the last parliament, of which I was in, is that everything was left until the last minute. IEBC did not have the necessary funding. They didn't act at the right time. Many of the legislations and the amendments they wanted to improve their work came a bit late. And even the members of parliament were hurried some of us, I was in the Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee, and our responsibility was to make sure that we got whatever we could get through in time so that we have a fair and free election. And in that process, it appears some things may not have been done right, or some things might have been done in a rush. And now that we have come through the elections, there is an opportunity with this criticism of IEBC, is that there is an opportunity for IEBC to start afresh. And obviously, IEBC, as constituted at the moment, is not in a position to be able to carry forward any reform or any changes until the appointment of a new chairman and the recomposition of the institution as a body. And I think we in Parliament must help them to look at the legislation to improve things, and to make sure that, in fact, we have a newly constituted IEBC in the quickest time possible to allow them to be able to come and do some of the critical heavyweight.
What do you mean with new?
New in the sense, obviously, the chairperson and some of the members would be going.
Okay.
And obviously, there is a need to appoint a new chairman in the near future. So I think it is good for the these new appointments to start on the right footing, and to have serious people who are not only ready to do the political work of some institutions, but to seriously work for an independent body that is constitutionally empowered by...
What do you think should happen to the 4 commissioners led by Vice Chair Juliana Cherera?
I think they enjoy protection of office until the end of their term, or until such a time that Parliament decides that either they should continue or they should discontinue. I think they shouldn't, either the chairman and the outgoing team, nor the current members who are continuing, should not hold IEBC as hostage. IEBC should be allowed to revive and to be able to do its constitutional work, because it has a major constitutional responsibilities, including the limitation, which would be another contentious issue. And therefore, we need a credible body that Kenyans can see as independent and can do this job properly.
I want us to take a look at some feedback that has come to us via Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gituku. The hashtag to use is daybreak, on what Kenyans are saying about this conversation around IEBC and the proposed reforms from the Supreme Court, while also comparing that against the latest development. Bob Otieno, you're saying that the full Supreme verdict has given political players an opportunity to reform IEBC and full implementation of Kriegler report before next elections in 2027. LJ Sindani, I am worried about the recommendations made by the Supreme Court on what should be done to IEBC in presidential election ruling. To me, this is akin to legislating on the bench. This is interfering with the independence of the legislature. Is that so? I think they just made recommendations. Yeah. Someone else? Or are they saying, Kenyo Moshoki, we have an evidence-based election that produced not only a reported election outcome, but also evidence that the reported outcome was correct. There's no way a last-minute boardroom rupture would affect the integrity of the election. And someone else? This is, again, Bob Otieno. MPs should disengage with the purge going on at IEBC. As it is an independent body, they should be pushing on reforming and full implementation of the Kriegler report, as it creates they might have a hand in what happened. Well, okay, all right. Quite a bit of a political suspicion there. I want us to transition and talk about something else, and that is to do with, of course, you know that later this week, President William Ruto is expected to address Parliament. That is on Thursday, the day after tomorrow. And of course, Kenyans also waiting to see what happens to the state of government in as far as naming of a cabinet is concerned. But there has also been